recording. You're now recording. So we are talking, having a great discussion about about the very notifications. Okay. Notification in in this service and its entertainment value or potential, and also how the metrics will be monetized. And our panelists are Joe Wilson, who has used crowdsourcing effectively in various ways. He is a very entertaining man, and he is in Los Angeles. We have Colin, who is he is sort of like my co-host in a sense. He has a background in technology, and he is very adept at figuring out exactly what we're trying to figure out, and knows a lot more about this service than I do. And Jess is I consider her relative to my universe a person of note, because she first of all lives in New York City, and she has connections to what's going on, and people that actually wear suits and stuff might listen to her, and they would just say, "Who the hell is that weirdo with the beard and the glasses and the unkempt hair?" Anyway, so that is the stage that we're in, and because we're recording this, I will ask each one of you to kind of give your own opinion, your own take on where we are and what we've learned so far. And Colin, I move it to you first.
So this afternoon we've been discussing at length prior to starting this session the various metrics by which one can evaluate the meaningfulness and network effects around blab versus those network effects that we're all familiar with around Twitter. We started with the premise that the blab notifications are a greater call to action than Twitter notifications, because we're dealing with content is delivered in real time. Joe was sharing with us some of the points around engagement and real-time content delivery, but we're primarily investigating the question of how to build the greatest audience and how to manage that audience effectively for the most optimal impact, regardless of the quality of content, because any marketer will tell you that the most important thing you can have is high quality content. We're assuming that the content is a non-issue in this case. It is not something we're going to consider, because the content is either complete crap or not something we have any control over. So with that in mind, we're trying to figure out how to best construct a network and manage a meaningful following strategy within blab relative to similar behaviors within Twitter or Facebook or other existing social networks that we're all familiar with.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Jess, what have you drawn from what we've discussed in the last hour? Which is, you have to note as an aside that this goes on and on, but it is intriguing and it is compelling, and it's like my version of like Charlie Rose interactive television, because I sit here and with rapt attention at what you have to say. So, Jess, what have you come to conclude?
I think the user experience in general and the psychology of the user on Twitter is vastly different than blab. And so like your notifications are different. It's more real time. There's more urgency with it versus Twitter, where you aren't necessarily missing out on something. If you don't get that notification, check your tweet right away. So I think it's a different thing. I'm excited for it. I think the community, though, is what's going to make it great, and being able to have 4 people at once talking together, having interaction, people who are commenting, being able to swap out people who are involved in like the comment section with the people speaking. I'm excited for the future of blab is my summary.
Okay, Joe Wilson. Joe Wilson, because he has at least a tangential connection to the multi-billion-dollar entertainment business, and he knows how they think.
Just zip code. That's it.
Just zip code. but he is a very creative man, and he might have some insight into the creative, the mind of a producer in the future for some sort of ITV using this service. What is your conclusion as to what we've been talking about? Joe, you're frozen.
It's like Joe froze on us.
Oh no.
Okay. Joe.
So, regarding all these network effects, we and I had the place I was going with this. Bear with me just one moment as I gather my thoughts. Are we getting Joe back?
Yeah, Joe,
Okay.
are you?
Hey.
All right,
Okay,
welcome
Joe.
back.
Got kicked out.
So tell me, what do you think? Joe.
Yeah, you're still breaking. I didn't hear the question.
Oh, the question is, what is your summation of this talk so far? Okay, let me try again, Joe. Okay, you talk, Colin.
All right, so I was actually going to move on from our summations because I realized that's only useful, no matter how good our summations are, it's only going to be useful to those who are just now joining us.
Okay, that's fine.
And not particularly valuable to those listening to this recording down the road.
Okay.
However, there was a great deal of discussion on Blab about, there are always meta discussions about Blab, about creating private rooms for marketing purposes and limiting access and to, for example, your list of total of marketing persons you're trying to address, because those are your audience that you're most likely to influence to your whatever your objective is. Well, is that really useful? No, not really, because you can have people come into your room and possibly you can influence them to your objective, educate them to your objective, because I know marketers love to say you can't convince anyone of anything, you can just educate them, which I think is complete crap, but that's not really the point. One of the things that kept coming up was about how Blab would benefit from private rooms. Well, Blab isn't going to implement private rooms if the development team has anything to say about it whatsoever, and of course they do, because they're all privately financed, and there's no way anyone can provide the necessary pressure to do it. That said, there are plenty of other platforms that have private rooms. So the platform I wanted to talk about briefly was appear.in, which allows you to create a private room at any given URL at appear.in. Literally, you can go to any URL, appear.in /room6, and it'll create a room of that name. You can invite people by sending them the URL and have whatever conversation you need to have with them. Up to 8 people in the video conversation at any given time, and an unlimited number in the chat. But it doesn't have a social network of any kind. So what makes Blab most valuable? Is it the social network or the video conversation? Is it that only four people are allowed to participate in the video conversation versus 8? Or would it be better if there were 3 or 2? I don't know.
I think it's this. Personally, I think it's the dynamic interaction between the social aspect and the four people, because I see it as a news outlet, and I am sort of like, for want of a better concept, like Larry King, and I get great panelists, and then you guys, I ask you questions, and then when the conversation lulls, I throw a bomb and then let you guys talk about it. So that is the engagement, because we had a discussion with a gentleman who later I saw on Blab a great deal, who said, I don't feel engagement. He said, this service does not have as much engagement
did that gentleman you stick around for other things? That's cool.
He's been everywhere. I mean,
wow.
Everywhere in relation to pickles, but he's been everywhere.
Yes. So we one of the things that we were studying earlier, or we were evaluating yesterday, was the effectiveness of the hot blonde effect. Or I know that's really an obnoxious way of phrasing it, but the influence social the effectiveness social influencers can wield in dragging their audience from one platform to another. So she has a substantial a substantial following on a variety of other platforms, and what she did was she started a Periscope while she was blabbing with us, and we've seen plenty of people do this in the past. She had instantly 66, I think, Periscope followers immediately hop in and watch her Periscope, where she said, "Join Blab." 45% of them instantly join Blab. One request, no time delay, no nothing. Instant response. Yeah, we saw it. It was now. You think about that, and as a general concept, yeah, okay, they're following a personality, but you always have leakage, always. And she managed to get 40% in one request.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was nowhere near her total followership, which is several thousand, I think, 5,000 or 10,000.
That's still,
but
impressive.
For a Periscope of less than 2 minutes in length, that's remarkable.
Yeah.
So a study of the effectiveness in social influencers have or the effectiveness with which they can draw their audience from platform A to platform B would be of great interest to me.
Yeah,
as it relates to the onboarding process of each platform, because certainly
and
platforms with shared onboarding process.
And we had I'm sorry, just to amplify what Colin said, we sort of decided that in the hot blonde effect, that Periscope is for narcissists. and by definition, a narcissist, like say Kim Kardashian, she can barely carry on a conversation with herself, much less through other people. And so all she has to do is just look pretty, show some flesh, and walk around her house, which I'm sure would be like tricked out to marketers like crazy. Walk around her house, say hello to Kanye every once in a while, and she can make $10 million off of her Periscope stream. Whereas with this service, she would need it stretches my fragility. I would mispronounce that word, obviously. To suggest that she could carry on a conversation with 3 other people in an effective manner that anyone would want to watch. Like, does that make sense? Like that this service is more for people that can carry on, people who are not only attractive but can carry on a great conversation. So the hot blonde effect gets them here, but once they're here, the dynamic is different because they have to carry on a conversation. So
wouldn't the expectation be different though if you're taking people from a platform where they're accustomed to just seeing someone speak? That's like going from watching TV to walk into a coffee shop and having a conversation. It's not like the same experience.
Right. Suppose the hot blonde has 500 stalkers, but all those stalkers, all they can do is watch her. Now they have the opportunity to chat with her and sit in a video seat where she can see them and interact with them and see facial expressions change and the appearance of horror on her face as she realizes what a terrifying human being has been paying attention to her. So yeah, it caters to an entirely different market, I think, than Blab. That is, caters to an entirely different market than Periscope or Meerkat. So they don't really compete. I think that's been established in many other discussions at this point. But it's a question of, I think what I was leading to was exactly how effectively can you move users from one platform to another, assuming the platforms are cater to the same audience, but one is just slightly superior to the other, or whatever the reason for the change is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
But directing your audience to do X or Y and having them follow you to wherever it is that you need them to go.
because the issue is if you can convince someone to go from one social media network to another, then you could potentially convince them to buy something, and that's where the scopers, that could be a whole revolution of forefront in personal branding, in the sense that a hot chick can just be a hot chick and get people to do stuff.
What you're effectively doing is you're taking someone who follows you on you're building on rented land when you're building profiles on other sites. Like you're building a Facebook page, you're building a Twitter page. That's dependent on Twitter and Facebook, right? We saw when Twitter pulled Meerkat into like their ability to rely on Twitter, that they lost all of these. I don't want to say they lost traction, but it was harder to find stuff. So they had to go and make some changes to catch up. When you can pull followers from one platform to another, you can take them from that Facebook or Twitter, Blab, Periscope, you take them over to your website that you own, and then they sign up, and then you start owning their data, and then you stop relying on having to pay for Facebook ads or all that shit to get in contact with your followers. You take them from that rented land and bring them onto your own property.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's where influence comes. That's where you can start having people who charge for an Instagram. They charge for an Instagram post because they can, even though it's Instagram, they can get people to go to a website and buy products.
Right.
Yeah.
This is an example where I wish I had a fifth bot so I could get Carlos, the Lounge Network, as his ID. If he could get him to ask some questions, because he seems like a guy that has.
I can hop out for a second.
No. Unless you have to or want to.
I can. I'll be back though. Sure. I didn't want to.
No, he said no. It's fine. So you can stay.
Okay.
He just seems like he. I've met him before, and he seems like he has lots of opinions about what we're talking about. Yeah. So continue, Joe Wilson. I only pick on you because you are in Los Angeles, and you do have you're a creative guy, and I am trying to figure out how Hollywood will use this.
But again, I'll remind you, I have nothing to do with the entertainment industry.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Honest.
You have TV in your name.
Everything.
Yes,
I just have the domain name. Everything I do is designed to be done without the entertainment industry, so I get to actually do something. So I don't have any agents, any managers. None of the money that comes from the audience comes from Los Angeles. It comes from all over the world. I just happen to be in Los Angeles. I could do this from Wichita. I just need the actors. With the graphic novel, I don't even need that. The part of the reason that I went really hard on the internet is 5 years ago, I could see some major stuff changing, and with Meerkat and the rest of the live streaming brouhaha, there's something else going on. The one thing that all the statistical stuff can't touch is how many human beings I know by face now, by name. There's been people I've been talking to on Twitter for 5 years that I've just had my first face-to-face conversations with on Blab last week.
That's exciting.
Exactly. On Meerkat, I started streaming on June 5th, 5 days a week, from 4:15 to 6:15, and I've kept that schedule throughout. So I've had they've been able to see me, gone back and forth. They can cameo in, but not until here could we have a back and forth. And when I'm having a back and forth with someone who has my graphic novel behind them, that is not something that no platform made that happen. I made that happen. They decided to allow that to happen. And I think the part of all of the statistical stuff is that the long game of human contact is how long does it take? It's a Zig Ziglar thing. How long does it take to make a friend? Whatever that number is.
This is your chance to plug your graphic novel. Carlos,
I'm not worrying about plugging it. I'm just having a conversation.
Okay. I just a question about it.
Right. But what I'm saying is that the people who have supported what I do for 5 years on 2 series and now a graphic novel, I never did a graphic novel before. So not only did audience members jump stories, they also jumped mediums. And now that I've had Twitter back and forth with them, Facebook, email, everything but this, and I've even done this, I had a perk that was Skype with me for an hour and my cat. And I did that a bunch of times, and it was amazing. And I went way, 2-3 hour Skypes. I wasn't doing anywhere near an hour because it was like catching up with someone that I would finally go blah blah blah. Now I can catch up with people on here. So the last 4 days last week, I'm doing a show called The Blabulation on Blab from 10 a.m. Pacific to 12 noon, where it's either just a conversation with the audience. Next week on Monday, I'm having Oklahoma Ward, who's the writer-director of Crawl or Die, which you can watch on Hulu right now. On Tuesday, I'm having USA Today bestselling author Pam Dumont, who's a friend of mine. She's written 9-10 books. On Wednesday, Malia Probst, who's big on Meerkat. She wrote a Medium article about the dangers of virtual reality. So she's going to come and talk about that. We're doing all that on Blab at the same time slot, recording it. It's, blabulation.com is just pointed at my Blab page. So I the thing is, like, no number can represent that connection over years, because that connection is no platform makes that happen. And I think the problem is a lot of people think that somehow if they get big on the platform that the connections will happen. And the reality is the connections happen, and then you slowly move up any platform. And that's and what people miss. What I watch people on Meerkat do is they play the game to try to get the points, so they're higher on the leaderboard, but they don't realize that being higher on the leaderboard means that, okay, now what? Now what are you going to do?
Yeah, a lot of social media gurus
Stream
and
your
experts.
sleeping?
Yeah, a lot of them are like that, where they'll use the right words, they'll say the right things, but at the end of the day, they're not doing the work that needs to be done to create something sustainable. It's
absolutely true. I mean, a lot of social media experts will go in there and leverage their own contacts to deliver a short-term boost in traffic or what have you, and then say, oh well, what are you going to pay me next month to do the same damn thing? It's not at all effective.
Let me interject for a moment. I really despise the concept of personal branding, because I think it's just gaming the system if you don't have content to associate with it. So Joe is doing he's building his brand organically through producing content that people come to associate with him. Whereas people that just want to personal brand themselves and sell me stuff without any content, I don't want to buy anything from them. Right. What's the take on that? What's the take on it? And I open the floor to that.
Well, I mean, I think part of it is what I don't think that anyone makes someone an audience member or a customer or whatever. I think those people already exist. You just don't know them yet. So what I think part of what is happening with and I know I'm going off the question a little bit. Part of what's happening with all this is I'm on Meerkat. So I'm on Meerkat 10 hours a week. I don't talk about what I do for 10 hours a week because my head would explode. I wouldn't even want to listen to me. I wouldn't even want to be me with my words coming out of my mouth every day because I don't care to talk about myself that much. I design Meerkat streams to be way more about the audience, and the audience actually creates the content that I just bounce off of. And so there's no content until the audience shows up. Mm-hmm. And if no one shows up, there's no content. But I think the thing, I just think that all the platforms are different, and I always look at them as neighborhoods, and this one just feels like a different neighborhood. And some people don't like the way it looks at the moment, but I think a lot of people are overreacting a little bit. This isn't. This is 2 months old.
It's still in beta.
Relax and watch what happens.
It's still in beta.
Yeah, but it's right. But they can leave the beta up there forever. I remember seeing Meerkat people streaming Blabs 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's just one of these things where, as a developer, you create a product and it either meets the needs of a target market or it doesn't. And if the early adopters are demanding a certain thing that the developers don't feel like putting in, namely private rooms, right? That's that's good an example as anything. There are other ones as well, but we'll go with that one. There are plenty of alternative platforms, and they work well. I mean, put your content out there that you love to put out there, and the people will come, right?
No, actually, they won't.
Or they won't, yeah.
No.
They won't.
No, actually, the way it works is build it, no one will give a shit.
Build it, no one will give a shit until you, right? And
if you keep it, if you keep building long enough, eventually someone will find it, and they'll be like, "Oh, this stuff." Like, Gary Vaynerchuk, Wine Library TV, he had 1,000 episodes done until it started getting traction.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Traction takes time. That's where the marketing comes in, and where you do need to come up with numbers around how you can draw in your initial audience.
It takes 20 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
But the one thing that I know from listening to a lot of people in the web series world, whatever that is now, the last episode I made of Vampire Mob was posted December of 2011. So that in internet time is like a century.
Yeah.
But people keep finding it and sharing it and rewatching it, and because now the story continues, it has and people say hi to me on Twitter, and I say hi to them back. The thing that marketers can't take into account is I have had very long conversations with people for over months on Twitter, and they didn't look at a thing I did ever, and never will. Other people I had a conversation with for months, and they did, and they liked what they saw, and they have helped me make more and continue. I can't make any of that happen, but I don't have show to put out every single day. So because I'm not I just want to be a genius writer and director and let the audience do stuff, and I'll just type and make stuff, and here internet, I'm a genius, enjoy. And I don't think audiences want more. They want more access. They want to know what your deal. Not all of them, but a lot of people, they watch me, what I do, because we have had conversations. You say the word Vampire Mob, and people are like, "Oh, this is going to be a hackety hack. You're going to just full of puns, and I can't even vampires, really?" And that's part of the reason I made it, is because all of that stuff. I made the one that I wanted to make, but it's only the people who share it is how the audience comes, or the people who have found me on, and that's the thing, is a bunch of people have found me on Meerkat who have never heard of me, never heard of Vampire Mob, and now they have, and now they watch. So that didn't happen because I found the platform that had the demographic for people who are going to be fans of graphic novels, because that's not Meerkat.
Yeah.
So, Joe, I have to ask, when you're moderating one of these, what's your philosophy?
Philosophy. I try to ride the wave. Everyone's not great at verbally communicating things, so I try to give people time to get their point out. Some people, their only point is to promote themselves, and I kind of I understand it, but it's not very interesting to listen to after a while. It's like I'd rather, I'm talking to a director of a film that's been out for months because I know him. I know he's a really cool guy. I know the story of how that movie got made, and I know it will inspire a lot of people to hear that story. That's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to help him sell a movie, because that's all done. It's, all the deals are done, distribution, it's on Hulu, it's on iTunes, it's on DVDs all over the world. They're making a sequel, but and watching them, it went to Japan first. So then I'm seeing all this stuff on Twitter that they were reposting that was from Japan. And then you watch the movie show up in other countries, and this goes over months. And the entertainment industry teaches us that it doesn't work that way. And the long tail can't make sense for the entertainment industry because they need to make a profit faster. And I don't, because my overhead is so much lower than theirs. So I can build slowly for years. They can't. They need profit quick because they're spending money boatloads of money, and most of it's done at a loss.
Well, that and they have shareholders to answer to. Yeah,
exactly.
So they get one quarter to return,
Right.
return a profit on these things.
And they have a dying business model, and they don't know it yet. Just like publishing, just like the music industry, their business model is dying because people don't want to do stuff at the same time, and no one is in a position to explain to everyone, look, we have to completely change how we do business, or we're going to be out of business soon, because they've got to affect one of those quarters or a bunch of those quarters, and no one's going to put up with that. And the CEO, president, board, everybody would freak out beyond just the shareholders. So it's going to be Tower Records over again.
Yeah, definitely. But you bring up an interesting concept that, in so many different ways, people don't want to do things at the same time. But we've got 18 people doing something at the same time,
I
and you can scale it. Scale that because it's interactive.
No, I think it's the other way. I think what happens is that the giant scale, the mass that was a TV audience, now gets chopped up into Periscope, into Meerkat, into Instagram, into Snapchat, into tiny little things.
You don't think Blab might be the dream of interactive television come true, in the sense that because we've been trying to figure out how to game the system, you could be some content provider, and you figure out, if I get those 3 people at the same place at the same time, and I'm using my entertainment, interviewer as my hook, and that shoots out to the system, I can get 500,000 people to look at it. And at the same time,
if it's the 3 top YouTubers, maybe.
but Colin and I, we've been studying, how would you figure out the people in this system that don't overlap, to get them to be at the same place at the same time, because of the shooting out of the notifications.
But
how would you get the most people?
Why is it unique though? Because you can be on Periscope and you can be on Blab at the same time. In theory, you can be watching a TV show and be on Twitter as a second screen. Does it really need to be that unique number? I guess for your calculations, it's unique because it's on one platform. But I'm saying it's not a zero-sum game.
It's an academic calculation.
Yeah.
It's meant to be distinct.
Yeah.
Now, in practice, yes, you can broadcast your content on any number of channels you want. You can do it on Blab. You can do it on Ustream. You can do it on Twitter. On whatever it is you want to do, all at the same time. Question becomes, which one delivers the greatest audience, which one requires your attention, which one is interactive to the extent that you will have to exclude some of the others for any level of interactivity. Because, for example, if you're dealing with Periscope and Blab, the Blab audience expects a level of interactivity. Periscope audience expects you to read every one of their comments, which is a little bit insane. And to me, that indicates a fundamental problem with their platform. You shouldn't have to occupy the host's time by reading every comment that comes up. That to me tells me that the platform is broken.
I 1,000,000,000% disagree, only because I've been on Meerkat again 5 days a week, 2 hours a day since June 5th, and all I do is read the audience's comments, because what I did is I academically looked at what happens on Meerkat and why people like it. Why do people like it? They like attention.
And they like to have their comments read by someone. Yeah, okay.
And the reason that Periscope sucks for me is that the comments go away too quickly. So what I do on Meerkat, experience hours of it, is that I riff for a little while, and then I go through the comments and riff off the comments, and then I'll go off on a little tangent, and then I'll catch back up with the comments. It's a conversation. What you're talking about is what Periscope does, which is TV. It's top down, and everything I do on Meerkat, it's me and the audience. Again, there is no content without the audience, so I read absolutely every single comment that comes through. And not only that, I actually, with the audience, we write jokes. I hand write on a legal pad all the names that they're coming up, and then read it back to them, because that's what's fun. That is why they tune in.
Yes, but that's your content. That is your content.
Right. But what you're saying is that the host shouldn't have to do that, because that's a flaw in the platform.
No, if that is your content, it's not a flaw. I'm saying that.
Right, but you're saying that
content,
But you're saying the audience's expectation on Periscope is that everyone should read their comments. Is that correct?
In 3/4 of the Periscope,
summation.
It is my subjective experience.
Okay.
That 3/4 of the Periscopes I've seen are about the notable person or pretty person or whoever it is that's on the screen is reading the audience's comments, and thereby the audience feels closer to that person, and that is the nature of the content.
40 years of content is watched on Periscope per day. 40 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to wrap anyone's brain.
Now, is that 40 years of content 40 or 40 years of content created?
Watched.
Because I heard that number, and last time I heard it, it was 40 years created.
Watched.
Okay. Watched. Okay.
Google it.
Because created, I think they, they blow their drives out. But and I could be wrong, but that's my recollection.
I don't know.
I watched the founder and the.
I'm going to let Jess Google it for us, and we'll find out in a minute.
Just Google it. But the thing. So there is no way for a human being to come up with an accurate look. It's always experiential. It's always based on your time zone. There's no way to wrap your head around it. And the thing with these platforms is right now, you can get to the bottom of Meerkat. You can get to the bottom of Blab. You can't get to the bottom of Periscope. There's too much stuff going on. And the reason that, when I looked at both of them, I'm like, okay, the signal to noise ratio on Meerkat and my ability to engage with human beings is designed into this platform. It's not designed into Periscope. I invested my time in Meerkat. I didn't jump on Blab. I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, I think I jumped on Blab for the first time. And I'm like, this is good. I could see how this could work. This is cool. And I was swearing that I would never do another podcast again. And here I am sort of doing another podcast.
To me,
against my will.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. To me, Blab is an effective content production platform. There's an extent to which I can see producing a podcast on Blab, using Blab, where we don't even worry about the comments on Blab. We just produce the content that we intend to produce because the comments are not part of what's redistributed. Yes.
Oh, I completely disagree.
But can't the comments influence
I'm not saying
content you're creating?
Valuable. Oh, yeah, they could. I'm saying if you chose to create content, which was, for example, a scripted drama with 4 cameras on one set, right, at different angles, you could completely disregard the comments and use the platform itself to build your choice of content, then distribute that content on whatever other platform you want. You're not using the entirety of the platform. I understand. You're disregarding the comments.
You're using Blab like a switcher.
Yes, right, exactly. And you could easily do that. It's the cheapest switcher on earth, right?
Yeah, but I don't know if the audience would want to watch it. That's the question.
Well, who knows, right? Okay. They watch 24, right? But the point is, you could use it as a content creation platform instead of just a content distribution platform. Or maybe it's the other way around. You're using it as a content creation platform rather than a distribution platform.
Right, but I think that the thing
you may not take the greatest value from it, but yeah, you can.
Right. I mean, the one of the series I started called Play Shorts is based or inspired by a series that CBS did for 4 years up to 1960 called Playhouse 90, where they did live. They wrote plays technically that were adapted for TV, and they shot them live, 90 minutes. There's a bunch of them on YouTube. The Comedian, I would highly recommend The Comedian with Mickey Rooney. It's the darkest performance he ever did. But I think that what people's expectations are, and I think it's sort of like why Twitter has a problem, because there's a segment of the population that's just doesn't get it, just does not get it. And I sort of feel like and the same can be said with Periscope and Meerkat. I don't think that they're going to have a problem getting this. I think what's going to be interesting is what happens to human behavior that makes this part of their lives. Because I know for a fact, my life and a bunch of other people, there's a lot less TV watching in it because of live streaming. Mm-hmm. And that is going to happen more and more, which we're not being advertised to right now.
that is the issue. Like, that's the thing that makes me wonder if the entertainment business won't jump on this sooner than any of us might imagine. You don't think
They
so?
don't have. They are the least innovative business on the planet. You might as well ask professional
I don't know.
bowlers to come up with new balls.
I work with some publishers who I think could take that title.
So in comments here, Andrew makes the important point that, yes, audience engagement is important. And if you're recording something using Blab as a switcher, you're not taking full advantage of Blab because audience retention requires that you interact with the audience. Yes, Andrew, you're correct. What I'm saying is that I would use Blab in this scenario as a switcher only, or I could use any other platform like this. We could use appear.in as the platform, possibly more effectively, because then you don't have to worry about the audience. It's like recording a TV show without an audience. Excuse me. And versus recording one with an in-studio audience. But no, my scenario was not to disregard an audience and not to alienate an audience by disregarding them, but merely to use the platform differently as a cheap switcher.
Right, and what I don't like. If I was going to do that, I like what I do is I look at what this platform does, what the expectation is, what the audience expects, why the audience is here, what's in it for them, and its interaction. It's not top down, ignore them.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So right. So what I'm saying is that by not using that part of the platform, you are not using the platform. That it is just purely video distribution.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
And not the engagement. And I think the value of all of this, and the one thing in terms of podcasting that I think I'm just starting to get a handle on is I pretty much had all open forum shows this past, so 8 hours of shows was just conversation with the audience. Next week will be 4 days of interviews. Then there'll be interaction with the audience. But what happens is the audience members have been retweeting the link to the replay because they're in it.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened before. That changes the game. That's like being a call-in person on a news show or a morning radio show or anything like that. People enjoy that. People like that. And that archetype it's so much more easily found here because a lot of people they're not going to get anywhere near a camera. No way. Are they going to be anywhere recorded, anywhere in public, saying whatever? And even the show I did Friday was called Profane Friday, and all we did was swear. We talked about what our favorite swear words
I heard about that. Someone told me about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean came in.
Who the hell is this guy? All he did was swear. It was out fucking outrageous.
And the reason I do it is that I started doing it on Meerkat, and on Meerkat it's pretty much PG-13.
Right. And
I put the warning, and the first time I did it, I got direct messages the next day. Did you get banned from Meerkat? I'm like, no. So Sean comes into the blab on yesterday in the midst of me. I mean, I explained, I'm like, look, this is gratuitous, absolutely pointless swearing to just relieve stress. So a couple of social media people, marketing people jump in and start swearing, and then remember that it's being recorded, and they're like, look, if any of my clients are watching this is just me kind of behind the scenes. I know how to turn this off. But that's human. That's not,
Yeah. The scenario that this is the sort of what have I learned this week? The scenario that I have articulated before is if this blab was about a widget that wasn't working, and we put I hate that widget and we shouted out into Twitter, and a social media manager saw it and descended upon this blab. What would they need to be a PR person when they? So, because Colin can tell you that someone actually answered that question, and the guy said
it was
they need to be a hostage.
Yeah.
Hostage negotiator. So what? But what? They are the face of that brand, right? They need to. Do they need to be wearing a suit and tie? Do they need to be what? Like
who wears a suit and tie anymore?
Right. They need to be relatable. Consider the scenario where three of us hate Widget A, and Widget A sucks.
Clearly,
and
it's stupid.
We're tweeting about it. Clearly, Widget A is stupid.
Yeah.
So there's one available seat, and Widget A's social media rep pops in there wearing a Widget A hat and a Widget A T-shirt. Now, what are they going to do? Are they going to offer us rebates on our purchases of Widget A? Are they going to offer us free copies of Widget A? Or are they going to just be nice guys and relatable?
I want to start a band called Widget A.
Really,
That's a great name.
I'll do your marketing.
That would be awesome.
You keep saying it. I'm like, this is a cool band name. Widget A, ladies and gentlemen.
So I think the question, though, is if the rep from Widget A comes in.
What are they going to do to be successful and address the problem?
Well, so if the rep for Widget A came onto like Reddit and some subreddits, they would be, the mods would kick them out, right? So if this rep, if this rep
depends what they did, right?
Yeah. So if this rep came into like our conversation, would we welcome that rep with open arms and complain to them and try and work through a solution, or be like, no, like we don't want you here. You're not going to do anything. You're just going to try and sell us. Like, fuck you, go away. How would the community respond to that rep coming? I think is the flip side of the question.
But then again,
get a seat.
Right. So my assertion is the best thing a social media marketer could do in that scenario is take the video seat and sit there and be a nice guy. Mm-hmm. And just listen to what's going on and smile and make a joke about Widget A and, oh, gee, when we were designing Widget A, we had this problem and, we solved it this way. We know it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it fixes the problem for 90% of the customers. It's not a bug. You guys are that 2% that didn't work for. So sorry about that,
Yeah. And then take it back to their product team and tell them.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to hear that. I'll take your feedback back to our development team.
I know.
So the question is, do they say, this is not, like on Twitter they'll say, any tweets are not my own or not.
They don't represent.
Do they have to say company. That? Do they have to say that before they start to talk? Because what if
that's when they get bounced out?
Because if I'm in control of it, I'm going to be the first person to ask. I want to know who you are. Who are you, Widget A representative? Why? Where'd you come from? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Yeah.
And do they have the right to be in the room?
Yes.
Everyone has the right to be in the room. I mean,
no. From the brand's point of view,
they
have to figure out if they is this the right place for me?
Are they acceptable? Yeah, I got you. Yep.
The thing that I hate about those disclaimers, though, like my tweets are my own point of view to represent my company. If I came in here, so like I work for a social media platform startup, and if I came in and I spewed a bunch of bullshit and I clearly came off as incompetent and you guys knew that I worked for them, it doesn't matter if I have a disclaimer. You're going to think less of that company because I'm their lead senior strategist driving all their strategy, right? Like that disclaimer doesn't mean shit. It's not going to protect me from liability of making the company look bad if I look like an idiot. It doesn't matter if they say that they're not representing the company. They are. They may not be able to legally bind in a contract, make like guarantees, other stuff, but they're still representing the company if they disclose they're from that company and they're wearing the hat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what the hat and all that stuff is going to look like on here. Even when I've seen it a little bit on Meerkat, it just like, I don't know, you can smell it. It's just like, it just doesn't work. And like, I've done the Kickstarter thing, the Indiegogo thing. I've done it on my own website in terms of crowdfunding. And because I've done it for so long, people just hammer me on Twitter with like retweet my campaign. And I'm like, but first say hello, because we have never had a discussion before, and you think that we're in the same mindset because we both crowdfunded. And the thing you don't realize is like, I've earned the right to ask because I've been here for years. You just got here last month.
You know what it reminds me of?
You don't have an audience yet, and now you want me to bring... And that is A, it's not fair, and B, it's horrible business. And if I was to jump in here and go, hey, everybody, look, I'm on Kickstarter right now. We got 48 hours left. If you could just, if you could help make it happen, I'm just like, oh, please.
You know what it is?
But
oh, sorry.
Okay.
I may potentially make people upset saying this. We all have the friend or know someone who's in an MLM, and every time you talk to them, they're like, hey, how are you doing? Oh, you have a pimple. You should try this skincare. Like, oh, you lost your job? I got a great opportunity for you. And then you never want to go to a party with them. You never want to see them.
And
Ever.
see that you have just summed up my problem with the personal brand people who are on this service.
Yeah.
That's exactly why I hate them so much, because they are trying to sell themselves like an MLA or whatever it's called, MLM. Yes, they're trying to sell themselves like that, and it just bugs the crap out of me because it violates the social contract of the service.
Because now, so between us, my roommate is in one, and
okay, 15 people know that right now. So
you don't actually have to sell products anymore. All you have to do is get other people to sign up for it, and you make money. So it's like you're not even selling anything. You're just getting other people to join. It's like, and that's all it is. They're selling themselves as a personal brand because they're trying to convince, like Jordan Belfort type stuff. They're trying to live a lifestyle. They're trying to convince someone else to live their lifestyle with them, and then go and like buy into this product to become the same. Like but that's what it reminds me of when people start like pitch, like the other blab I was in where the guy had the banner behind him with all his products. Instant turn off. It just comes off as like so ungenuine that like I'm here to like to learn and to connect and to like meet awesome people and share ideas. I don't want to hear your pitch. If I like you, I'll contact you later and like buy your product. Like, I just don't want to hear it. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that's where we all are. I think we're all kind of at the point where marketing just doesn't. It's harder for it to work. I mean, Facebook ads are crazy lethal just because the amount of information you can use to target people. But it's still not TV. It's still not a Super Bowl ad. It's still not the kind of plug and play, get millions of people to do something, and and all this does is add another distraction from what the giant machine makes that they want us to buy. And until they can figure out a way to, like Facebook, get a revenue off of this thing, which inevitably will happen. There's a billion ways to do it, but right now there aren't enough people to do it. I mean,
there doesn't have to be enough people. All you need to do is
Oh, just briefly, just something has occurred to me. Colin, I know that you have this ability. The MTV Music Awards are coming up. That would be an excellent chance to test out this service using what you know in like the Mystery Science Theater 3000 technology of blab, whereby I don't know what the rights, the copyright. There'd be a huge copyright violation because you'd be rebroadcasting something that you did not own. But if you could somehow put that in one of the panels and then have 3 people commenting on it, you might get yourself some traffic.
Yes, but there are, as you say, lots of restrictions on doing that. The technology exists. It could be done from a technical standpoint, but I'm not sure I want the legal liability.
Okay. I was just throwing it out there.
Good point. So at one point, Brittany asked me to come up with a show because I have been bouncing around other people's shows for so long. And so I came up with Blab Science Theater 3000, and we do intend to do exactly what you expect of Blab Science Theater 3000. If you know anything about Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I know Frank Conniff.
Well, we like his work, so we're going to do something very similar. And
crazy funny.
They will be popping up on the front page at various times, and we will also be accepting submissions of what scheduled blabs you would like us to comment on, and we will prepare commentary.
I have to note, did you guys see the Tinder? I know Colin was.
They did an excellent job with that.
I didn't see it, but did you know what Joe and Jess? Did you see it?
I believe it was recorded, so you can go review it.
Oh, what is it?
So what Brittany did?
They had a Tinder. Go ahead.
So
You guys Tindering on?
a couple weeks ago, not us. No, I do not use Tinder.
No, two
Only
ladies.
Brittany uses Tinder.
Crowdsourcing opinions for your
Right.
swipe.
So exactly. So what she did was a couple weeks ago, Brittany had or attempted to have an online public Tinder date on Blab. That is, locate someone on Tinder, ask them to join Blab, and have a date with her remotely via Blab. It didn't work.
Idea.
It's a great idea. It didn't work. She wasn't able to convince this guy to use Blab. Apparently, he was too stupid to be able to use the application. He was, however, able to use FaceTime. So she had a 5-minute date, and then we had a 5-hour analysis of her date, which was possibly the much funnier, vastly more funny event than the date itself. And that was not recorded, which was disappointing. Now, this wasn't last evening. It could have been the night before last. Brittany had a session whereby she and a friend of hers were crowdsourcing opinions about their next Tinder dates. So we managed to we came up with a solution, John Preto and I, for integrating an additional window into Blab using one of the 4 windows to project content from other sources and get the audio from the other sources and so on. So we implemented that solution. It's relatively straightforward to do, provided you have the necessary hardware and software. What Brittany did was she implemented a mirror of her cell phone and her friend's cell phone, both iPhones, on the lower 2 panels, and the upper 2 panels were she and her friend holding their iPhones swiping, and you could watch in real time as they were swiping things and seeing what they were swiping. It was very impressive. So yes, great. it was awesome, and it is recorded. You can go find it under, I think, Brittany Mertz.
I'm hoping she's going to do that again. Account. Is she going to do it again?
I'm sure she will. I have a feeling that she's going to actually go on a date via app again. I'm not sure, but it was quite entertaining.
Yeah, it's a really good idea.
I'm just picturing being on the date and be like, so just so you know, I actually had like 40 people on my Blab when we chose you. So
one of the things was exactly that. You know, you wait on Tinder apparently, and I haven't used Tinder, but my understanding is on Tinder you can swipe and if it's a match, you can then send the person a message. So she then asks, "What message should you send them, or should I send them?" She says. And I think my suggestion was, how many viewers do you find acceptable to be on your date with us?
That probably
What's
blocked.
the maximum viewership of our date? Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's probably a block coming from there, but
it's a neat platform. You can do all sorts of cool stuff. There's a gentleman who is doing Blab into Periscope and then back into Blab, which is kind of interesting. So that one of the frames, that way the Blab viewers can read the Periscope comments, and the Periscope viewers can see the Blab experience with all 4 windows, which is very cool. I mean, a lot of people are doing one-way mirroring, but he was doing 2. It's very cool. But there are all sorts of interesting possibilities, one way and another. I don't want to ignore our comments here. Let's see. Do we have any we should be addressing here? Let's see. Andrew says, just use YouTube for my solution where I was going to use Blab as a 4-way switcher. You could do. Well, YouTube is a distribution channel. Blab, in this case, is a production tool. Let's see. What else we got? Something about MP3s that I don't fully understand. On the new updated Blab app for iPad, and I don't notice an improvement. Yes. I do notice an improvement. So one of the main issues with the Blab app for iOS is it doesn't allow enough space for comments. And when you put it on an iPad, it's far worse than on the iPhone. So if there isn't, now I grabbed the newest Blab app as of this morning, and I did not see an improvement. So maybe they've released another one this afternoon. I'm not sure about that.
And one thing talking about the MTV Movie Awards, I know that they sent a bunch of Viners to the Movie Awards last year.
They're doing I'm actually running ads during. Speaking of TV and advertising, Twitter and Facebook both have TV targeting now, so you can run ads specifically during and after events. So I'm doing a bunch of ads for the VMAs, and I was seeing an article that I want to say Periscope. They're doing a bunch of stuff on. I'm looking for it right now.
I could see that. That makes complete sense. You hire some periscopers who have big numbers, and you have them come in and stream.
Yeah, I could see. Yeah, that's definitely.
Happy Camper Mama thinks that Trump in a Blab-based interview would be interesting. I think Trump in any interview is interesting, but it's sort of like watching NASCAR. You're just waiting for the massive crash and the fireball.
I have
personally,
I
do. There's one big commonality between Trump and a variety of people on this platform. You go to Trump, he says, "I am going to run the classiest presidential campaign ever." And we all know that if you have to say you're classy,
you're not.
Ain't so.
Yeah.
Just like if you go to South by Southwest and you meet someone and they say, "I am a social influencer." Yes, you are.
All right. Can I tell a funny story?
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, like how funny? Like
I'm
1
gonna
to
give
10.
I think for you guys, I think you'll find it to be like an 8. Maybe
I don't know.
9.
Oh, it has to be a 9.
Wow.
It better be a 9.
Oh, shit.
We don't accept 8.
It's a lot of pressure.
I know. It's tough.
So I had a client who I was running Instagram for back in the day, like 2 years ago, probably a year ago. So I had a call with this woman who's an Instagram expert, and she asked if I was a certified. She goes, "Jessica, I can tell you're not a certified Instagram expert because you don't have enough emojis in your description." I was like, "What the fuck do you mean, like a certified Instagram expert?" She's like, "Have you ever taken a class from a certified?" I'm like, there is no Instagram certification program, so no. And she's like, "Yeah, I can tell you don't have enough emojis. You need more emojis in your bio. It should be primarily emojis, so when someone comes to your page, they know what you do with them." Okay, I can understand, you want to make very clear what you do, but I'm sorry, I don't have enough emojis in my bio to be an expert at Instagram. Sorry, I'm not a certified expert since certification does not exist for that. But it was my bio on Instagram is that I put that in my bio on Instagram. It was so absurd. But this woman is an expert and has branded herself as an expert, and so now everyone else calls her an expert because she said it enough times that people believe her. When it's she has no clue what she's doing. I'm pretty sure she's on Blab in another chat right now too. So.
That's always handy. We had someone who came into this chat that has the most unfortunate recorded Blab from yesterday. It was a social media marketer, and I feel sorry for her.
What happened?
Well, you can go find it. It's in Shelton's profile. It's what was the title? How to lose friends and alienate people. Yes, that was a good one. I'm
gonna go watch this
later. Well, you gotta go watch it later. It's very short. Walter, who's Knight Rider 57, says, "I didn't come here to buy shit. I can go to Amazon for that." Yeah. Well, that's true, but I'm gonna hold up my Blue Moon Pumpkin Ale anyway, because Blue Moon Pumpkin Ale is awesome, and everyone should be drinking it from now until Halloween.
And I would like to promote the sponsor of the Blabulation on Blab, Uncle Joe's Mint Balls.
What?
Uncle Joe's Mint Balls. They're minty.
Is that sort of like Joe Schwetty's Christmas balls?
No, these are actually
Sweaty
these are
balls.
real.
Oh, that's an actual product. That's different. Okay.
Actual.
No way. Where do we get those?
I don't know. I'm guessing England. Apparently England.
I'll grab some next time I'm
Somewhere
there.
England. Uncle
That's
Joe's mint balls. How
But,
is that's not a sponsor?
But I actually did have a point here, and that was at one point people were asking for a button, an action button associated with their blab, so they can sell something and say, "Go click on this button, and you can actually buy it." Which I think that idea was nixed.
Yeah.
I really hope so. But really,
Yes.
you know, on platforms like any of these things, if you're going to be doing any sort of product placement, it's about brand awareness. It's not about a call to action to go buy something at this moment. The one thing that Blab does very well is their call to action to join a Blab, because
Yeah.
it's a real-time event. It's interactive and it's short-lived. So I mean, I don't know what percentage of Blabs are actually recorded, but I'm guessing it's less than 10 or 20%.
I've
right?
been recording all mine.
Well, some groups record all of theirs. Some groups record none of theirs. I very seldom. I've recorded one Blab total of my own, and I think I've been on a couple recorded Blabs. But I'm generally not in favor of recording Blabs that I'm in personally.
Well, I think that
this one I only record because it has such a great panel. So.
Well, thank you, sir. I think that in terms of audience building, to have some evidence of what I do for them to find when I'm not streaming live is useful. And since it doesn't take me any extra time, and I do talk to the audience, I do go back and forth with comments. Joe Hart, who is NASCAR Chart Inc. on here, he's the official comment wrangler. So he just wrangles comments. He takes a seat, but then when it gets filled, he pops out. But he welcomes everybody coming in, and he just started doing it. And we like the setup, except he doesn't do it on Profane Friday because he hates swearing. So that's when he leaves. But otherwise, he's there the rest of the time. And I think that's the great thing about Meerkat is just me and reading. So it's a lot easier to jump back and forth. And this is a lot less so. Or at least I haven't got the hang of it.
One thing I'm curious about is this is a visual medium. Who will be the breakout star? Who will be the lonely girl, whatever it was, of this server? You will be it. Colin will be it.
I'm stuck in this house. It's all empty with no stuff, and it's clearly a set because there's no stuff anywhere in the entire place.
Did you just move?
No, I had a forced remodel, so I had my wall full of boxes, and anyway, that's a whole different story.
I got boxes,
but yes,
too,
I'm the only girl because I have no stuff.
I just haven't unpacked.
I'm sitting on a lawn chair at the moment. It's not very meaningful, but yeah, yeah. Anyway, yeah, I don't know who will be the lonely girl. I mean, you nominated what's her name, Melissa something, DeBlock.
I think that girl, she's got it, man. She's got it. She's got the stuff. She's gonna get.
She's very engaging. Yeah. There are a lot that fall into that category. Nerdy looking dudes are kind of stuck behind the 8 ball here. So I don't know. I'm out of luck. But
because I even tried to wrangle her to be my co-host on my show.
Oh, did you just
I'm trying
over for the pretty long leg?
You aren't regular. You aren't a regular. You don't come on you come every once in a while, but you don't. I need a regular co-host. So
yeah, okay.
People fall in love with format. You gotta have regularity.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think to record or not to record? I think we covered that. Hopefully that question was asked. Oh, that was you.
Yeah, I was trying to start
Okay.
conversation.
Have
Have a conversation about what's in Joe's background.
yes, what is in Joe's background?
that is a remarkable background you've got.
Give us a tour.
That's a bullhorn. That's a gargoyle.
Makes sense.
That is a shark mask. There's the top of a green hat that looks like this one, but this one's black. That is a large ear. That's my graphic novel. This is an Easter Island tissue box. That is a mask. This is a defibrillator.
Why?
And these are 3 boxes of vintage Twinkies that were among the last made before they went out of business and disappeared and then came back. So these are the original sealed, expired Twinkies.
Are you saving those? Is that your retirement fund?
Yeah,
exactly.
Expired Twinkies? I didn't think expired Twinkies existed.
Well, they in terms of the FDA, they're expired.
They
got to go through.
I'm unconvinced.
They're probably still good.
Probably. They're good forever.
Twinkies and mint balls, yum.
Mint ball. I don't know about the mint balls, but Twinkies and cockroaches will be around until the end of time. So
cockroaches are terrifying.
Mint balls might survive. It's in a can. I mean, this is
quality.
Solid balls. Not that cheap stuff. I told you I would eat one if I ever get an invite to his cave. Yeah, I always have people on Meerkat like, when are you going to show us I do a show and tell, and I'm like, when are you going to do the show and tell of the Twinkies? So I show them like, open it, eat one. And I'm like, no. For months.
Chelsea, the hot blonde in our example of the hot blonde effect, and she is a dyed blonde, I guess, was explaining to us at one point the appeal of attractive women eating in a slovenly manner. Apparently, this is a substantial fetish.
Africa TV or Africa TV? Is that
on Africa TV, among other places. But that was educational.
Yes.
Did you cover that again in the interview?
Yes, I did. I think I may have touched upon it, but I was more interested in like nerdy, insidery expat stuff. So there was only
you were interrogating her about South Korea.
Yeah, there's only like five people watching. So I like if there had been like this many people watching, I would have probably been more inclined to talk about stuff like that. But I did mention the food porn and she was for food fetish, and she was like, "What? It's not food fetish." And I was like, "What else is it?"
No, it's an eating fetish.
Okay, eating fetish.
I mean, no one cares about the food. It's about the slovenly eating manner.
It's the matter.
If you had been there, then you could have asked a better question.
I wish I was there. I had been there, man. She's cute, and fun, and adorable.
Yeah, she's very fun, and I wish she would like pop up so we could talk to her, so we could interrogate her about her historic movie events here on the platform.
Yeah. So, other comments. Let's see here. Who has at least 7? Wait. Who has less than 7 followers? Had less than 7 followers.
He was kidding.
I think people come here wondering how many followers they must have.
Oh,
and then
how many followers
disappointed.
Which of course is the entire point.
There's no
yes,
response.
there is no correct answer.
No. It's clickbait. It's clickbait.
No, they're waiting to be told to leave. That's what they're waiting.
Oh no, we don't tell people to leave. We tell them they can't sit down, and now we don't even need to tell them that because the room is full and we're having a rollicking conversation. And at some level, we should probably, do some. In most of Sheldon's programs, we will rotate the audience in, and if they've got interesting things to say. But we've run an entire show without doing that, which is either good or bad. I don't know which.
Well, this is compelling, for want of a better word, television. Internet vision.
It's compelling programming.
Yes,
programming.
Compelling programming. That sounds classy.
Is the delivery channel?
It's compelling programming in
videocast.
This is like
from Knight Rider.
Yes, videocast. So you guys are a great panel, and I pretty much if you keep talking, I'll sit here and listen. And for once, I didn't introduce politics because
Oh wait, but we talked about Donald Trump, so I mean,
That's true. That is
kinda, but we talked about him in a meta sense, in a media meta sense.
Can we just not consider him part of politics because it's depressing?
No, he's a clown. He's not part of politics. He's part of entertainment.
His hair, I get it. I need to go. So I don't understand why people are so obsessed with it.
That link that I sent you about the Trump article, the one with the Penn Jillette quote. I don't know that.
Oh yeah, you
enough. Can you post that in the chat? That'll be fun for people to read, I think. Penn Jillette, I mean, everyone knows he's a magician and somewhat of a comedian, but he is a phenomenally good writer, and I recommend his latest book. It was really quite entertaining.
He is a phenomenal orator.
Absolutely. Raconteur.
And he's wicked tall.
and he's an adamant atheist too. So
yes. He's
and,
really a blast.
An advocate for adoption. I think his daughter's adopted.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What else is Penn Jillette, folks?
Welcome to Penn Jillette chat.
Yes.
Does he have enough followers to be able to talk here?
I don't
know, but I bet of the few big stars out there, I'm sure he would be inclined to hop into this platform more so than many others. Now that's actually one of the points I wanted to touch on. Actually, how useful is this platform versus Periscope for big stars? And I guess we sort of touched on this with Kim Kardashian. But it's not so much the intellectual prowess of the star; it's potentially the how glib they are. Can you imagine a Hollywood actor's manager, his reaction if Tom Cruise said, "I am going to appear in a blab talk show
about Scientology
only on the internet"? I don't think he would do it about Scientology. We'd probably have to sign a waiver saying that we would not ask a single question about Scientology.
Yeah.
In which case, I would not have him on my show. Maybe Sheldon might.
Dude, I'd be so in awe that I don't. My principles are such I couldn't. I would just want to meet him, but I would say I'm sorry. I couldn't do that. I have to talk.
Yeah, we can't take restrictions on our interview questions. But more to my point, there are probably a lot of big name celebrities who would be reticent to try this, not because they are clowns or reality stars of no substance, but simply because they would be concerned about the random questions they might get from the audience and their ability to field them on the fly.
Oh, how people
because they do a lot of image management.
On the woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey did a Twitter chat because she's writing a book for someone. Yeah, so she's writing a book from the perspective of Christian Grey, and one of the best questions was like, "Have you considered writing a book from a perspective of someone who can actually write?" And like her, and a lot of that line, and she was very upset, so she ignored them. But like, you could have anyone in here, and it wouldn't matter if the other person speaking didn't ask them the question. It's going to be in the comment section.
Right. Well, Twitter is interesting because it's a pseudo real-time experience. You can pause and think about your answer before you respond to something in Twitter. Whereas here, if there's nothing else going on, you must go to the comment section, pick out a comment, and you pick one that you can actually respond to in a sane way and respond to it. Or if you're being asked a question by one of the video participants, you better have an answer, or you got dead air.
Yeah,
which is what makes this platform a lot more comfortable for people like me than Periscope, because I tried to Periscope a little bit, and I have maybe 5 minutes of things to say on my own, at which point I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's not helpful.
That's the thing. I went through designing the stuff for Meerkat because I'm like, what the hell am I going to talk about for that long? And I'm like, oh, right, nothing. That's what I'm going to talk about that long.
Right. Well, every one of these platforms appears to cater to Seinfeld or to Seinfeld's show character.
What's the deal with blab these days?
I did hear one of the social media heavy hitters describing my meerkats in a positive way, but explaining them as like they're not about anything. But tune in because they're not about anything, and they're really not. But I think part of what I'm seeing happen on Meerkat, I've regularly, I was having face-to-face meetings with people from Meerkat like 10 days after I started streaming. The people are getting exhausted. People are like regular people. Yeah, the people who stream like, everything, their dog walking, them having dinner, them going everywhere is in this kind of, I don't know, it's very reality show to me. Yeah. That's what it feels like.
Joe, what I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to ask, what's the lag time between what we're doing now and when there'll be a very special Law and Order or whatever about the psycho killer that
it won't be this season, but it'll be next season. Well, actually, maybe with Periscope, it might be this season. Wouldn't surprise me. Because they're just, after you write a show for a decade and change, you're running out of crimes. Yeah. So, yay, a new crime. Woohoo! How'd he do it? All right, let's get ready.
This is not based on actual events and then happens to follow.
Yeah,
that's what I've been seeing a lot lately.
It wasn't based on actual events when we wrote the script, but then suddenly
it happened to happen.
Yeah.
Whoops. I feel like that was an episode though, where like someone had a book about it, or there was a show about. There's a CSI episode where the storyline was there was a CSI type show and someone was reproducing the murders. And it was like that's so meta.
That's the shark jumping the shark.
Yeah,
I think
the shark eating the shark.
While in midair jumping another shark.
Yes.
Back in the 90s, of course, there were a bunch of these shows that thought they could try and do a one episode that was a musical. And what was it? There was Buffy and there was Hercules and a couple of these other ones, right? And I want to see the CSI musical. That would be.
There was what was it? Some kind of musical cop show.
Cop Rock.
What was
Cop Rock.
Yes, Cop Rock. Yes, there was Cop. There was Cop Rock.
That's good. Xena Warrior Princess is the musical.
Well, that doesn't require a musical. There doesn't need to be music there. She can just sort of bounce around a little bit.
I hear there's a reboot in the works.
There's a reboot of everything.
Really?
What happened to original programming?
Well, no, you don't want to have an original idea because the original idea might fail.
Well,
the reboot already has a built-in audience.
Reboot, the show already failed once, and that's why it's no longer on the air.
No, it was successful, but they ran out of ideas. Now they could just rewrite the same storylines
over and over again.
What they got to do was they got to build an audience over a long tail that they originally couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
So like with Arrested Development, it was canceled with Emmys because its ratings were crappy. So 7 years later, with his 2 centuries in TV time, 7 years later, Netflix looked at the real numbers and were like, we can bring this thing back. Because they were looking at the long tail numbers, not looking at the season numbers. And that's the only reason Arrested Development got made, because they saw
I didn't look at Arrested. I knew of the show's existence, but I never watched any episodes originally or on Netflix. Now, did they manage to recover the entire cast and do it?
I believe so. Yeah,
in the same way. Wow,
I believe so. I mean, I haven't watched the reboot. I never got through the last season of the other one, but the first version. But I didn't hear a giant fan upheaval, which is usually what I would hear first from people just complaining.
Yeah.
So I think, I think it did okay.
Australia Wow comments that Lie to Me got canceled. Yes, that was an awesome show. I enjoyed that from a psychological perspective. The acting was questionable, except for the main actor who did an excellent job, and the writing was good. Let's see. There was some other show that was just like that.
At this point, I have to say, guys, if you have a question and you're watching, please use the chat box, and we will. We're not ignoring you. It's just you're not really saying that much.
We'll field what we can.
I think some people do treat this like talk radio. Like I know I've pulled this up on my phone and hit the home button and just listened.
Yeah, no, one of the guys who's in here still routinely listens to Blabs while he's showering. It was not a piece of information I needed to know, but now that he shared it, I feel the need to share it with everyone else.
Thanks for putting that in my head.
You're welcome.
I got 10 hours of Blabs on deck. Thanks for that.
Yeah, Australia Wild points to the gentleman whose life the show Lie to Me was based on. I thought that was a substantial modification, though. Sort of like Scorpion, which is a really substantial modification of this one gentleman's life who did some assisting with the FBI or something. But yeah, Scorpion. There's a really bad show. It's a really poor execution. I take personal offense because they treat geniuses like weirdos, and that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
I've known a couple geniuses.
Were they weird?
A little bit, but likable weird.
Like quirky weird.
Yeah.
Endearing.
But, it might be worth taking this off the record at this point and just
okay.
whatever comments we have.